Now in this video I'm going to prepare an answer with you to the 2017 Leaving Cert question 1a. And it relates to tourism essentially, and it was inspired by a question where there was a lady and she was the mayor of Paris, and she was responsible for increasing tourism in Paris because tourism numbers were falling and they wanted to bump up the numbers in Paris. And now the question is an extension of that question is, relating to tourism in Ireland. And this is the question: selon la section 1, question 1, l'année dernière, le nombre de touristes étrangers à Paris a diminué de 13%. A diminué de 13%. We've got the verb diminuer, which is to go down. And then just below, we've got the verb augmenter, which is to go up. So we might recycle one or two of those. En Irlande, par contre, on the other hand, le nombre de touristes étrangers, foreign, augmente en ce moment. So it's going up. De plus en plus de touristes étrangers ont envie de, have a desire to, ont envie de venir en Irlande. Quelles en sont les raisons principales, the principal reasons? So what are the reasons for this, à votre avis? So, en Irlande, par contre, le nombre de touristes augmente. De plus en plus de touristes étrangers ont envie de venir en Irlande. Quelles en sont les raisons principales, à votre avis? So now I've made out a plan as usual. I've kind of made a diagram this time, and that's what you should do: an introduction, development, and conclusion. Now, in my introduction, I'm going to say I'm actually quite surprised by this. I didn't know that the numbers were going up. So very short, I'm quite surprised I didn't know. So let's have a look at the diagram here that I've put on the screen in kind of 3 or 4 points here. So here's my question over the right hand side. And then first of all, I'm going to say, I didn't know. I've got my little diagram there, and 5 points kind of effectively, my introduction up here, and then 3 development points and my conclusion. And I've written in some vocabulary and so on into each one. Now, at the start, I'm going to say I didn't know this. It's surprising. Je ne savais pas. Je ne savais pas. And it's surprenant. It's surprenant. It's surprising. So I'm going to use that, my little first point there. 2 lines for my introduction. Développement 1. Many reasons why Ireland appeals to tourists. And first of all, it's the people. So I'm going to refer in my development point 1, the people, les gens, les gens, les gens, les gens. And there are reasons why they want to come. So I could recycle that expression. Pourquoi, plusieurs raisons pour lesquelles les gens ont envie de venir. Ont envie de venir, they want to come. I'm actually going to use a different verb in this case. I'm going to say lots of reasons why Ireland it seduces tourists. So I'm going to use the word séduire in this case, but I could certainly use the expression ont envie de. But séduire. And then because the people are sympathiques and the people are accueillants, accueillant, welcoming. Now my second point is I'm going to actually say that the climate is appealing to some people. Le climat. So my first point is the people, second point is the climate. I'm going to say the climate is a plus, and it's very easy to say a plus because it's en plus, en plus. And I'm going to say it's true even though we complain about the unreliable weather. In other countries, it's often extremely hot, maybe even too hot for some people. So I'm going to use the climate as a point here. I'm going to say le climat est en plus pour certains, c'est un plus. And I'm going to say c'est vrai. It's true, c'est vrai. And we complain about, se plaindre de is to complain about, se plaindre de. And I'm going to talk about le temps. Le temps is another way of saying the climate or the weather. Le temps capricieux. Capricieux is capricious or fickle. In other words, it's unpredictable. So, on se plaint du temps capricieux. We worry about the fickle weather. But in other countries, dans d'autres pays, there should be an S on that, dans d'autres pays, il fait trop chaud en été. Sometimes it's too hot, and sometimes you can go to Portugal or Spain and it can be 40 degrees and it's baking. Now, development point number 3, I'm going to say the amazing countryside. So the amazing countryside here in the wild Atlantic Way, for example, and there is no shortage of breathtaking sights. So les sites touristiques, la voie de l'Atlantique sauvage, and époustouflant is breathtaking. So when we write this now, and you must remember the key vocabulary once we'll look through the solution here now, and then you remember the key vocabulary. In the conclusion, I'm going to say I can easily understand why people want to visit Ireland. Je peux comprendre facilement pourquoi les touristes ont envie de venir en Irlande. I am going to say it's expensive. Ça coûte cher ici. Ça coûte cher. But the positives, les aspects positifs, l'emportent sur les aspects négatifs. So, l'emporter sur is to outweigh. L'emporte sur, to outweigh. So, les aspects positifs, l'emporte sur les aspects négatifs. So, I'm going to write about 160 words on this. So, let's do just that. Now, for starters here, I'm going to say I didn't know that the number of tourists was going up. Je ne savais pas que le nombre de touristes augmentait. I'm going to say I find that surprising. So that is my intro done now, and it's I've dealt with my introductory point up here, which I didn't know this, and it's surprising. So, je ne savais pas que le nombre de touristes augmentait. Je trouve cela surprenant. I'm finding that surprising. Now I'm going to put my first development point here, and that was to say that there are many reasons why Ireland is appealing to tourists, why it seduces tourists. The people and they're friendly. So I'm going to say il y a plusieurs raisons pour lesquelles. Il y a plusieurs raisons pour lesquelles. Several. Il y a plusieurs raisons, several reasons pour lesquelles, for which l'Irlande séduit les touristes. Séduit. Je séduis, tu séduis, il séduit. It does mean to seduce in a romantic sense, or indeed in this sense. So why it seduces tourists. And now I'm going to say, first of all, the people are very friendly and welcoming. Tout d'abord, les gens sont sympathiques et accueillants. Accueillant, a tricky word to spell, accueillant, a welcoming. So, il y a plusieurs raisons pour lesquelles l'Irlande séduit les touristes. Tout d'abord, les gens sont sympathiques et accueillants. And I'm going to say, wherever you go in the world, people will say that the Irish are friendly. So I'm going to add in a sentence, wherever you go in the world, a sentence. Mémorisez bien, à mémoriser bien, s'il vous plaît. So, où que l'on aille dans le monde, wherever you go in the world, où que l'on aille. I, in this case, the subjunctive form, it's part of an expression figée, a fixed expression, où que l'on aille dans le monde, and then on vous dira que. People will say to you that. On vous dira que. On vous dira que. On vous dira que. Les Irlandais sont généralement de bonne humeur. They're good-natured. They're good-humored. And now I'm going to write in my second point. So that was my first development point done now, the people. The second one is about the climate here. And I'm going to refer to that. So I'm going to say the climate is a plus. Secondly, the climate is a plus for some people. Deuxièmement, pour certains, le climat est un plus. Pour certains, le climat est un plus. It's true. And now, in Ireland, we have a tendency to complain about the bad weather. En Irlande, on a tendance à, we have a tendency to, on a tendance à se plaindre de, to complain about, se plaindre du temps humide, se plaindre du temps humide, le temps humide, the wet weather. But let's not forget that in other countries it gets extremely hot. Mais n'oublions pas que, let's not forget, mais n'oublions pas que dans d'autres pays, il fait extrêmement chaud. Il fait extrêmement chaud pendant l'été, in the summer. Sometimes you're obliged to stay indoors in air conditioning. Des fois, on est obligé de rester à l'intérieur dans des espaces climatisés, And you know that's a bad thing. So now we've done that second point, and now we're going to move on and talk about the amazing countryside. So very, very hot are this point, development point number 2, and now development point number 3. Thirdly, the amazing countryside, the wild Atlantic way, for example. So, enfin, il y a les paysages de countryside, des landscapes. Il y a les paysages irlandais, a masculine word, les paysages, un paysage, and the landscapes. Il y a les paysages irlandais. And let's take the example of the Wild Atlantic Way. Prenons l'exemple 2. Let's take the example of. Prenons l'exemple 2. La voie de l'Atlantique sauvage. La voie de l'Atlantique sauvage. And there, the tourists can discover all kinds of amazing sights. Là-bas, les touristes peuvent découvrir. They can discover. Là-bas, les touristes peuvent découvrir beaucoup de sites époustouflants. Époustouflant, mémorisez bien cet adjectif, époustouflant, breathtaking. I'm going to add one sentence. I'm going to say in fine summer weather, these places are spectacular. Par un beau temps d'été, ces endroits sont spectaculaires. These places, un endroit. These places sont spectaculaires. And then finally, that's that point made. And now in my conclusion, I'm going to say, now to conclude, I can easily understand why people want to visit Ireland. So, pour conclure, je peux facilement comprendre pourquoi. Pour conclure, je peux facilement comprendre pourquoi. I can easily understand why. That's a useful expression. I can understand why young people want to travel. I can understand why people want to visit Ireland, etc. Pour conclure, je peux facilement comprendre pourquoi. And then, les touristes. Pour conclure, je peux facilement comprendre pourquoi beaucoup de touristes ont envie de, and I've recycled this expression from the question, ont envie de séjourner en Irlande, to holiday in Ireland. I'm going to say it is very expensive. Bien sûr, ça coûte cher de venir ici. But the positive aspects outweigh the negatives. Mais les aspects positifs l'emportent sur les aspects négatifs. Les aspects positifs l'emportent sur les aspects négatifs. Now the expression l'emporter sur, a slightly odd expression because of this L apostrophe in front of it, just part of it. And just remember that expression. Les aspects positifs l'emportent sur, they win out over, they prevail over, and they beat the negative aspects. Mais les aspects positifs l'emportent sur les aspects négatifs. So let's read it one more time. That's about 160 words, which is perfect for this question 1. So let's read from the top down. Je ne savais pas que le nombre de touristes augmentait. Je trouve cela surprenant. Il y a plusieurs raisons pour lesquelles l'Irlande séduit les touristes. Tout d'abord, les gens sont sympathiques et accueillants. Où que l'on aille dans le monde, on vous dira que les Irlandais sont généralement de bonne humeur. Deuxièmement, pour certains, le climat est un plus. C'est vrai, it's true. En Irlande, on a tendance à se plaindre du temps humide. Mais n'oublions pas que dans d'autres pays, il fait extrêmement chaud pendant l'été. Des fois, on est obligé de rester à l'intérieur dans des espaces climatisés. Enfin, il y a les paysages irlandais. Prenons l'exemple de la voie de l'Atlantique sauvage. Là-bas, les touristes peuvent découvrir beaucoup de sites époustouflants. Par un beau temps d'été, ces endroits sont spectaculaires. Pour conclure, je peux facilement comprendre pourquoi beaucoup de touristes ont envie de séjourner en Irlande. Bien sûr, ça coûte cher de venir ici, mais les aspects positifs l'emportent sur les aspects négatifs. And that's it for this solution. Now make sure to take your notes, mark and highlight in your own notes the key expressions here, and memorize them.